So I just finished reading this book here, which is called This Close to Okay by Leesa Smith. And I will say that I enjoyed the book, but it was a bit emotional for me. The first half of the book I read on my Kindle because I got it from Libby. And then the second half of the book I actually finished listening to while I knitted. And if I can be honest, I was glad that I finished the second half of the book by audio. I kind of think it would have been a lot for me to just read it because there were some really emotional parts of this book. So having it read to me made some of it easier for me to process and go through. But I will say I am glad that I read it. Now, I will say that this book requires some trigger warnings if you're someone who deals with any of the issues that are discussed in this book. There are some self-harm, and if I can be honest, I'm not quite sure what I can share here without it, being banned or anything like that, but I will just say that it is an emotional ride, and it deals with mental health, personal care, relationships, client, counselor, relationships, things like that. This book can be a good experience for someone who has people in their lives that are dealing with the same thing, and anyone who may be dealing with certain things themselves. Now, outside of that particular factor, I like the idea of it only taking place in a span of a weekend, and then us kind of getting like a fast forward through their lives after their initial encounter. Some of the things that were hard for me to process in the beginning and even in the end is when we're switching from character to character and trying to make sure that I'm staying updated on where we are in the story. There were some points where when he began to talk, I had to go back and see like where did we leave, what happened, but it didn't happen too often that it was a complete disconnect. It was just closer to the end, and it may be because I was doing other things while I was listening to the book. That being said, I think this is a great story. I think that it is something that I could recommend to friends and family members of mine that may be struggling with some of these things or even trying to figure out how to help someone or be there for someone who is in the midst of having a mental health struggle. It's something that's very common. And so that was one of the reasons why I enjoyed the book, is because it removed that layer of things that we just don't talk about. And it added a certain amount of transparency into the mind and emotions of different types of people. And since I did read it on Libby and then listen to the audiobook, I will be purchasing my own copy for my shelves. It's just something that I would like to have in the future. And if you're asking if I recommend it, I do.